Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for January 25th, 2014. It's currently 10 a.m. and we are warmer now than we've been in several days, and it's only 10 a.m. Temperatures are actually going to get into the lower to mid 30s throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area before another Arctic cold front comes through and then the temperatures come crashing down. But at least for now, we'll be able to enjoy a, warmer day. But unfortunately, we're going to also be dealing with scattered snow showers moving through the region as that Arctic cold front approaches. So as you can see, winds are from the south around anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting to 30 miles per hour at times. We have some gusts over the ocean here around 30 to 40 miles per hour. As that southwesterly wind shifts to the west, it's going to transport a lot of cold air into the region once again by the time we get to tomorrow morning. So again, today's high temperatures are going to be in the lower to mid 30s. Tomorrow's lows, once again, in the lower to mid teens as that Arctic cold front moves through. On the infrared satellite picture, you can see that Arctic cold front approaching. You can see a lot of lifting here that's developing over the northern mid-Atlantic, producing the threat for a few snow squalls. Now, there's been a lot of talk about accumulating snow, 1 to 4 inches, and yes, it's definitely a threat. Not everyone's going to see that though. And I'm going to show you why in just a few minutes. Let's take a look at the radar here. And you can see we have one nice solid band moving through eastern Pennsylvania now. That'll move through the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area over the next few hours. And here's our second batch for this afternoon that's going to move through. Now, on the latest NAM model guidance that just came out, one thing that stands out to me in a major way is all this dry air at the mid-levels. What this is telling me is simply this. The atmosphere is going to be very dynamic, so the snow showers that move through will be capable of producing some heavy bursts. However, with the dry air in place, there's also going to be a lot of these snow showers being scattered about, and a lot of this snow is not going to reach the ground. So not everyone's going to see 1 to 4 inches. Where it snows, they'll see 1 to 4 inches. But there's just as good of a chance with this radar here, as we can see, that you'll have some breaks here at times where you're not going to get any snow at all. So there's a threat for 1 to 4 inches of snow in your general location. Most locations will probably be around an inch, probably lasts about 30 to 45 minutes per snow shower. This is not a major storm in any way, shape, or form. It's a bit of a nuisance. You want to go out, it's been cold, you're locked up, you've been walking around in 10-degree weather, you want to go to the movies or the mall or something of that nature, and now you run into snow showers. And some of these snow showers will reduce visibility to below 2 miles at times. But again, this is not a major storm in any way, shape, or form. Just a bit of a pain in the neck. I mean, who wants to do more shoveling, right? So once that moves through, well, then we have more disturbances on the way. See, we're going to have a lot of disturbances in this weather pattern. And I want to make this very, very clear. The model's past 3 days are, at best, questionable. When you start seeing in each model run a different solution to the weather pattern, that is a huge warning sign to keep your guard up. Because what it's basically doing is it's taking the raw data, it's taking this data that you see here, disturbance, the wind pattern, another disturbance, and it's coming up with a different solution each time. And the reason why it's doing that is because it's interacting with these disturbances differently with each time. Which one's correct? We really have to wait that out. That's why I'm going back to my old rule of go out 3 days and then kind of generalize. Because if you say there will be no storm at all in any way, shape, or form, you let yourself to, potentially busting in a major way. So basically we'll be having the pattern here. We have our polar vortex setting up around the Hudson Bay. We're starting to develop some blocking over the northern Atlantic. We're getting lower heights over the Canadian Maritimes. On a nice deep trough, disturbance after disturbance after disturbance in the polar jet stream dropping south. That means more Arctic air. And now we're starting to see our subtropical jet stream get a lot more active and starting to get these disturbances generating with the subtropical jet stream and move into the southwest. And eventually that's going to start to interact with the polar jet stream to create some mayhem, especially by the end of next week and just in time for the Super Bowl. So again, Don't get bogged down in details. The models are going to be flipping around all over the place. I'm going to show you a perfect example in a moment. And basically take it like this. It's going to be cold. Temperatures are going to remain below normal throughout the week. And there'll be a threat for snow about every other day. For the most part light. And I'm waiting for a big storm, unfortunately, just in time for the Super Bowl. So let's dive into some of this model guidance. The GFS model guidance we're going to start with this evening. Again, our article from moving through, very strong disturbances associated with it, and some scattered snow showers and a few snow squalls. Again, not the end of the world, but just a bit of a pain in the neck. And it's the warmest it's been in about a week, in the lower to mid 30s. Most locations would be around 31, 32 degrees. Again, hitting freezing is like a heat wave compared to what we've been dealing with. For tomorrow, unfortunately, high pressure is in control, and that also means the Arctic air is back, with temperatures ranging from the lower to mid-teens for lows and upper teens to lower 20s for highs. Another cold front moves through on Monday with a few scattered snow showers. Again, a heat wave returns with temperatures in the upper teens to lower 20s for lows and upper 20s to lower 30s for highs. The Arctic air returns for Tuesday and for Wednesday with high pressure in complete control. Temperatures in the single digits for lows, mid to upper teens on Tuesday, and upper teens to lower 20s on Wednesday for highs. Now, there's been talk about the potential for a storm to develop, but it looks like the way that this disturbance is driving south is going to kick anything that tries to develop here off of the coast and well into the Atlantic. This is a perfect example of why we need to be very cautious with this weather pattern, because if this disturbance is a little bit delayed, then this trough might have a little bit better chance of becoming more of an issue. But for right now, it does look like that this is going to remain a storm well out into the Atlantic with no threat whatsoever. And again, here's our polar vortex sending disturbance after disturbance after disturbance through the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, here's the threat here. We can see this very nicely with this current setup. You have a split in the jet stream. You have your polar jet stream with a nice ridge over Alaska where it's 51 degrees. And you have storms riding up towards the towards the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, and then dropping down through the Arctic, sending Arctic air. Meanwhile, the subtropical jet stream is sending disturbance after disturbance from the Pacific right across California, where they desperately need some rain, through the plains and towards the East Coast. So the question here in the overall pattern is, does the timing line up just right for these disturbances to interact and create some mischief? And that's the bottom line question. So for Tuesday and Wednesday, it looks like we're a bit too progressive with this weather pattern to allow a storm to develop off the East Coast at this time. So, and you could thank this disturbance right here. So it looks like high pressure is pretty much in control for these 2 days. Then by the time we get to Thursday, warm up just a little bit ahead of an Arctic cold front. We've been through this before, with temperatures warming up into the single digits to lower teens for lows, upper 20s to lower 30s for highs. Friday, that Arctic cold front moves through once again. Temperatures basically in the upper teens to lower 20s, mid 30s for highs. The GFS model guidance at this point is trying to force a 40-degree temperature. I don't think so. That Arctic cold front's moving through, and we're going to fall right back into the 30s. We are not rising above freezing this week. And then there's the question of what happens with the storm that develops just in time for the Super Bowl. You can kind of see how this is all setting up here. You have your polar vortex transporting the cold air. Here's your cold air. And you have all the moisture from the subtropical jet stream. How will they interact in time for next weekend is the major question, and the question that all the football executives in the NFL in New York are trembling in fear of. Because if it phases just right, see like how it's phasing here, where you have the disturbances phasing early, and then that builds up the ridge, then that means that we get enough warm air surging up that it's pretty much just rain for the Super Bowl, and not really that big of a deal. It's rain before the Super Bowl, we could all deal. However, if this is delayed a little bit, and let's say this phase happens out here, then you'd pump up the ridge over the Atlantic, and this overrunning event basically leads to some significant snowfall. Which model shows that? I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look at that model. It is called something called a European model. That's right, our good friends at the European models are scaring the heck out of the NFL here with another storm that approaches the region and just stays below freezing just enough. The Canadian model is showing the same type of scenario. The question really comes down to, when does phasing and interaction of the jet streams really begin? That's the bottom line, and that's pretty much the whole forecast right then and there. And as I stressed beforehand, it's best not to jump to conclusions in this type of scenario, because a difference of about 6 hours could change this from an all rain event to an all snow event, or an all snow event to an all rain event very easily. So again, the major players that are in place, the overall idea that I want you to understand is that we have the polar jet stream bringing the cold air, we have the subtropical jet stream bringing the moisture. How they interact will determine just what type of storm we're going to be dealing with by the time we get to next weekend. Stay tuned, it's going to be a fun week. Well, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, and the Patch. As always, thank you for following NYNJPA Weather, and as always, stay safe out there, especially all that ice and stuff out there.